So today we are going to talk about the Sambhal Jama Masjid controversy, right? We know that there was a firing around the Sambhal Jama Masjid in Sambhal. Sambhal is in UP, where three people died and some policemen were wounded by the stone pelters. Now, what happened was that advocate Vishnu Shankar Jain had filed a plea in the local court that the Archaeological Survey of India must survey this so called mosque in Sambhal because there is adequate proof that this mosque was earlier a Hindu temple which was later converted into a mosque. Now, the court heard the petition of the Hindu side as well as the Muslims and then ordered that a survey must indeed be done. A survey was done and the ASI completed that survey. And the next day, when a little bit more of the survey was being done, then there was firing and there was stone pelting, and we all know that. But we aren't going into the details of the stone pelting. The idea is, what proof do we have that this so-called mosque in Sambhal, Jama Masjid, is of Hindu origin? Okay. Now, the first answer to that is Meenakshi Jain's version. Meenakshi Jain had produced a YouTube channel some time back, The Battle of Rama, in which she claimed that this Sambhal Jama Masjid mosque was actually a Harihar temple devoted to Lord Kalki, who is the 10th avatar of Lord Vishnu. विष्णु के 10वें अवतार हैं और 1526 ईस्वी में in 1526 this temple was demolished and then converted into a mosque by an officer of Babur. Okay, just like what he had done in Ayodhya. In fact, Dr. Jain, who teaches history in Delhi University, she says that this was the second mosque that the Mughals made after the capture of Bharat, the first one being Ayodhya. Okay, now, so does she have any proof? So she says that yes, indeed, there is an inscription inside the temple which says that in Hijri 933, something like that, Babur's officer, Hindu Beg, ordered that this temple should be demolished and a mosque be made. So accordingly, that order was undertaken. Now, what is Hijri? So Hijri is the Islamic calendar, the day, the year in which Prophet Muhammad escaped from Makkah to Medina. So how we convert Hijri to the Christian era is a different thing, but roughly we add 600 years. So it comes to around 1533. But this 600 years is a very, very, it's a very, very loose conversion ratio. But still it fits around 1526 or 1527 when Babur invaded, defeated Lodhis in Panipat and then entered into UP and all that. So that's the inscription that Meenakshi Jainji is saying that it exists. Okay, so that's one. Is there any other proof that says that this particular temple was converted into a mosque? Yes. In fact, there was a British archaeologist whose name was ACL Carlyle, and he wrote an article about this structure in the 1879 Archaeological Survey of India report. And this is what he says. He says that the dome is built of brick and is said to have been rebuilt as it now it is by the famous Prithvi Raja. Okay. Who appears to have been a great benefactor to Sambhal. Okay, so this is what he wrote in the ASI report, which was published in 1874, 1875 and in 1875-76. So in fact, these Britishers have done a lot of surveys when they were ruling India, and they used to go from one village to another village, and then they used to see all those things that they saw and then make a detailed report. So he further says that the walls of the central square Hindu temple would appear to have been built with large bricks cased with stone and this but the plaster with which the Mohammedans have coated the walls conceal the materials of which they are made of, and I can only say that on examining several spots where the plaster was broken, I found that in some places stone was exposed. I believe that the Mohammedans stripped of most of the stone, especially such as bore traces of Hinduism, and made a pavement of the stones, turning the sculptures downward. So even he says he believes that there was a Hindu temple and the sculptures were turned inwards while making this mosque out of the rubble. Okay, he believes it, he is not sure. But elsewhere in his report, he says that Musalmans of Sambhal confessed to me that the inscription containing Babur's name was a forgery, and that the Mohammedans did not get possession of the building until about the time of the mutiny, that is the revolt of 1857. So he says that the Muslims say that this inscription about Babur demolishing the temple and making a mosque is a forgery. Okay, and they got the temple and they got this mosque only in the beginning or in the middle of the 19th century, somewhere before or after the revolt of 1857. Okay, so this he writes in his report of the Archaeological Survey of India, especially the name of the report, and you can write it down on a piece of paper, is Report of Tours in the Central Doab and Gorakhpur in 1874-75 and 1875-76. Okay, and Babur's name in the inscription is misspelled, and that gave away to doubts. Okay, but in the same report, which was published by Mr. Carlyle, Mr. Alexander Cunningham, who was the first Archaeological Survey of India Director General, right? He says that the inscription on the masjid, which the Hindus denounce as being forged, okay, appears to be quite genuine. The full date is given in a very ingenious manner with the last word. Okay, so he says that in fact there was a temple and there was a real inscription. The inscription seems real, and the Muslims say that the inscription was forged, but then Mr. Cunningham says that the inscription is real. So this is the true picture of the Sambhal Jama Masjid mosque, and it's quite similar to what happened in Qutub Minar in Delhi, in Mehrauli, when there was a big temple or a collection of temples in Mehrauli, and that collection was demolished, and then a mosque was built, or probably a dome was put on this temple, and all the sculptures were covered by plaster and all that, and it appeared that a mosque had been put up, but ultimately the plaster fell off, and now we know that the Mehrauli Jama Masjid, or the Quwwatul Islam mosque so-called, is actually a Hindu temple. So I just wanted to bring down this fact to you in the latest video. And if you like this video, so please make a donation at swayamT at OKICICI or swayamT at OK HDFC Bank. That's my UPI ID, and based on your donations, I produce this kind of content very often. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Jai Shri Ram.